Hello, and welcome to Spotlight, recorded here, live on Grapple Patreon. I'm Benno.
And I'm Gareth.
And some weird time-related issues on the YouTube there. People knew when we were going live. It's fine. I might have set it to local Vietnam time or something like that. I'm a bit all over the place, Gareth, as you know. The clock's changed, so I'm not 6 hours ahead anymore. I'm 7 hours ahead, so it's completely screwed my schedule. Vietnam's on the same time zone as Thailand, though, so I shouldn't be making that mistake. But still glad to be here and glad to see people worked it out and are joining us live in the chat room tonight.
That's it, mate. You know, and the old consistency that I'm on here of day in, day out, same shit, different day.
I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on. Am I in Tokyo still? Am I back in Belfast yet? It's coming up. I don't really know. Don't know what's happening. What I do know, though, I will say, and get ready for this show, I was very impressed. The telly in this Airbnb that I'm staying in Hanoi, Vietnam, which is where I am at the minute. Just not pushing my luck with the visas in Thailand right now. If you check the news, it's a little bit of a thing right now. So, took a bit of a break, come out to Vietnam for a bit. I couldn't get me Google TV to work because there wasn't a cord long enough, and then I couldn't get it in the telly, and I was messing around with it when we were supposed to be going live on Saturday, wasn't it, for JP's quiz. Told you I was all over the place, and I just couldn't get it going at all. And I was like, I need to watch Full Gear. How am I going to do it? I'm going to just sit there and watch it on my phone. Am I going to get it on my tablet? I'm going to go old school and get my laptop out. And it just occurred to me, I was like, hang on, I'm sure Trilla's available worldwide. Let me just check on this smart TV that's in this Airbnb. Is the Trilla TV app there? Already installed on the telly here, Gareth. So I'm guessing whoever stayed in this Airbnb before me must have been like either a big random Russian kickboxing fan, a big slap fight fan, or something like that. It was already logged in. They hadn't bought the pay-per-view, unfortunately, Gareth. It was some Russian name that was on there. So I did log them out, and I logged back in as you. So if you have had any email this week saying there's been a suspicious login activity, it's me. But there you go. Trilla brand is worldwide. Came through in a clutch and works perfectly. Great stuff.
And then, did you notice I hadn't paid for it?
At that point, I did panic because you hadn't bought the set. You didn't have the Full Gear and World's End set I tried first, but no Full Gear was there. So if you didn't pay for it, somebody did. Maybe it was the Russian who was in the Airbnb before me. But I was slightly worried I was going to have to pay for it myself. But luckily, that didn't come to fruition. But there you go. I appreciate it, mate. Thank you again.
It's the I was going to say that's the bonus there when you get it on your telly, like, isn't it? That's the thing there when you're thinking about, like, I just have visions of you just like sat outside like coffee shops and stuff like that, doing all your prep for shows and stuff like that.
Watching it
on like tiny screen and going out then. So yeah, well, if you're in Vietnam and it's on your telly and the Wi-Fi's working, luxury, mate.
That's how I'm hoping to make friends, because most of the time when I'm sat in public in these coffee shops, I literally am doing homework. This week aside, it was great not to have to do any homework, but there's doing JP's quiz this weekend. But usually I'll be sat there with like something I'm doing for Benno and Hamfler from 1996, and just hoping maybe at some point I'll get a tap on the shoulder from somebody going, "Oh, is that Shawn Michaels?" or something like that. But it hasn't quite happened yet. But you got to get it in where you can. But as I mentioned, yeah, was it a good week this week? Not having to have any grapple homework out there. Like I say, I'm doing Benno and Hamfler this week, so I've been getting that in, and that will be sorted. I'm probably gonna have to listen back to the last housekeeping that me and Michael did just to get me spelt back on board for that. So it worked out well to really not have to do any prep this weekend, other than maybe, I don't know, do some research on JP's life and try and consider what type of questions he might have been asking us on the quiz on Saturday, most of which I could not have predicted. I probably could have predicted the heavy AI influence that did happen on the quiz on Saturday, but outside of that, it was a JP quiz in the most positive way I could possibly say, Gareth, that we recorded this weekend.
Oh, like, so many of those rounds were just like classic JP, what he just threw into the mix there. I have to say, like, what a good laugh! Like, what a good laugh I had doing that show. And again,
wasn't for me. I was last. I wasn't happy. Although I have seen on the Discord, there's a couple of questions that it seems like the answer might have been wrong on. I'm just saying, could have got an extra point for that Stan Hansen one. Might have George Hackenspit and his 80,000 attendance. Could have done it, mate. Could have took on you and Matty. Could have beat Andy Ogden. Probably not that far.
We weren't getting anywhere near Andy Ogden. Fucking hell! Like,
no. He was the king, wasn't he? I regret asking him.
No spoiler there, but one of them rounds there where it was about modern wrestling. I think it showed how much I keep my eye on modern wrestling on that one, whereas Andy absolutely swept the board, and I think that round comfortably ended up winning stuff for him there. But I was pleased just to not lose to Matty. That's a win to me.
Yeah, I lost to Matty, so that really hurts for me, considering Matty got a few of the questions wrong of, like, it was venues, wasn't it, that we've been in before? Like, literally we've been in. I've been there with him, and he didn't recognise them, the O2 Ritz being one in there that he didn't. I didn't expect him to fully get the frog and bucket, but there's a couple of very surprising ones in there. But yeah, as Platt said there, yeah, his MLW and Bastards research paid off as well. Don saying there, JP doing a cunts round, kind of a bit of surprise. Yeah, I should have done some, I should listen back to our cunt show from years back in the day. Maybe that would have helped as well. But Connor says he's corrected them all, and I'm still last. Damn it! Double check the historic round, Connor, because I'm pretty sure that some of those package bit stats were off. I'm going to win by technicality. I'm going to finish second from bottom if I can. But it was amazing, and it was great to have Andy on, obviously, and it was great to have Connor as well in the background, as well as JP has given him loads of credit for it. Connor doing the hard work in the background to make things run, and joining us on the call as well while City got tonked. So we always appreciate our Connor, and he did a cracking job.
Oh, I tell you, like, it was like having an actual, like, proper techie TV quizmaster going on in the background there with, like, everything the way it was all.
Is it the Taskmaster where there's there's the guy who kind of follows them around and tells them all what to do? That was Connor. That was him. He was our Taskmaster.
No, Connor was a legend. Andy was a legend. It was just a good show, just a really good laughs, and recommend watching it on the YouTube as well rather than a podcast feed. If you're somebody who maybe listens to shows more than watches them, I think it's definitely one for YouTube with some of the visuals there when you're getting into the age game and when you're getting into some of those venues and things like that at the end. If you've dip your toe into YouTube or you're not normally a YouTube person, this is a YouTube one, I reckon.
Definitely, like, we've made sure that everybody's got access to it on the Patreon feed and as YouTube members as well, because, like you say, yeah, you need it, especially for some of the questions when we did the age game, and there's some that shocked even me. I can't believe that Sergeant Slaughter was 22 years old at WrestleMania 7, but there we go. We learned some things on the way as well. But cracking job from JP. As such, he has got the night off today, and it is me and you, and as he'll have. I don't think he's on this at the show at the weekend. As me, you, and Matty have been putting it was our little brainchild that we put together at another show coming up this weekend on the Patreon. We're calling it the Six Tape, as we made the joke a million times. We know it sounds bad, fine, whatever. But Matty has finally put the playlist out for that this week. 6 matches, as we talked about. Got 2 from WWF. We got 1 from WCW. We got 1 from TNA. We've even got a Shikara match that snuck in there as well as a global match to kick things off. And like I say, a couple of sickos. The Click Tag, one that I have covered actually on Bono a handful before, and also. In there as well, we got an AJ Styles match from TNA too. It's a cracking playlist that we've put together here, and a short bit of homework as well, Gareth, which is something we all look forward to.
6 matches always sounds good to me, but I'm just made
1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6.
It's one
works.
It's one that I've had on my dealer's choice maybes list for quite a while as well. So there you go. Chalks it. It's like getting one for free, isn't it? When you end up doing a show that's a possible dealer's choice for you, and then you just get to just do it anyway. So yeah, very much looking forward to this because 100%. I think one of the most underrated wrestlers from that time period. Probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think when you go back and watch some of this stuff. So it'd be nice to shine a little spotlight on him. So to speak, no pun intended.
And speaking of people being younger than you'd imagine, he's about 14 there in the picture that I've thrown on screen there for the 6 tape, and I believe was about 28 years old at his last WWF match. And I think somebody just put on the Discord about 38 or 39 years old when he did the match with Sami Zayn / El Generico in Chikara, doing a 1, 2, 3 kid tribute gimmick. That just shows you how quickly time moves. But like I say, playlist on the screen there. Like I say, starting with Global versus Jerry Lynn. Got the match with Marty Jannetty from WWF. We've got the Click Action Zone tag. We've got a match with Hakushi from the WWF as well. That takes us into WCW. We've then got Six versus Eddie Guerrero. We've then got his return to the WWF as X-Pac versus Chris Jericho, and we've got his TNA match with AJ Styles to get another company in there, and we've finished off with an extra sickos match in there, as I mentioned, the Shikara match versus El Generico as well, which if you haven't seen, definitely check it out. That was again, it was kind of presented like, oh, look at this old man, he can still go. Again, younger than Sami Zayn is right now, killing it still in the WWE. So there we go. Such as time, but I think we've done a good job, like I say, picking the different gimmicks of the man. Goes all the way from Lightning Kid to 1-2-3 Kid to 6 to X-Pac, back to Sean Waltman, and then ending there with a little bit of a 1-2-3 Kid tribute there as well. So I'm looking forward to getting into the homework as well. Have you ever seen that Jericho match before? I could see that being one that you'd enjoy. Can't see Shakara being one that was big on Gareth's playlist during the 2010s.
No, I definitely seen the Jericho one. Definitely seen the Jericho one, but not the not the Shakara one. So looking forward to watching that. But just when you look at that list, just look at even matches there that I've seen before, and you just look at some of them opponents and things. Just looking forward to just getting stuck back into that as well, because all quality stuff there. So yeah, gonna have a real good time doing the homework this week and doing that show. So
there we go. Plenty to it.
Well done, Matty.
Plenty to look forward to, and then obviously we'll have December with some fun King and Queen of the Mountain editions there as well. And I'll be remiss not to say before we get the review rolling, Gareth as well, just a little shout out to one of our Kings of the Mountain, Carl Gack, who's just welcomed another little one to his family. So we're all made up for Carl there. So congratulations, and yeah, we look forward to the big War Games match between Carl's kids and JP's kids at some point as a King of the Mountain show. But no, in all seriousness, we love having Carl on, and it's great to hear the good news.
Yeah, massive congratulations to Carl. That was I was made up there when they sent that photo through into our chat before. So yeah, if West Ham can't do him right, at least the family can there. And yeah, new addition there. So yeah, hopefully this one's it's always easier, as JP says, when they easier than the first always. So yeah, gonna have
allegedly it's what JP
says. Gonna have his hands full, but maybe not quite as full as first time around.
Must be piss easy for JP now, whatever number he's up to here. So there you go. There's a life lesson to you, folks. Do what he says, not what he does. I think that's how JP would word it. But no, congratulations to Carl. And yeah, that takes us into obviously what we're here to talk about today, Gareth. And you mentioned West Ham there, by the way. If anything does happen in the Everton game, I'm sure I'll hear it in the background from your house. So keep me updated in the chat, folks. But all eyes are on Full Gear, which we do need to talk about. And yeah, it feels like we're going to have to start only in one place, Gareth, and that's the dominating conversation that's taking place. I was going to usually ask you here about your catch up and how you got it in. As I mentioned, I managed to get it on the telly here. There was no way I was not being spoiled on the main event finish before I managed to get it on Sunday. I was warning you on WhatsApp to stay out of certain group chats this week, Gareth. Did you manage to do it? And obviously the big story being the big Joe title win, and Hangman Page's second title run, and not by the coward Benson Richards this time, but maybe at a different coward. But yeah, we've got to start there, Gareth. Was it a surprise, or did you know before you watched this thing?
I didn't 100%.
Could you tell something was going on?
but yeah, I think just when I could just see chats pinging up, and I did see I think I saw Chris LeMay say something about thought Matty would be in here or something like that in the chat this morning, and I thought, oh, something's happened there.
Why would Matty be asked about an AEW result?
Kind of thing. I was like, something Joe related here. So then that got the cogs whirring. I was thinking, it's Joe won. It's Joe. And then Benno's telling me to stay out of chats. Fuck, maybe Joe's won.
It's my fault.
So I wasn't 100% spoiled on it, but I wasn't. It was so not a total surprise when I watched it either, but I think I still feel slightly surprised by it. I don't actually think I've processed that that's the decision that they've gone down at this stage. I'm just feeling a bit kind of okay kind of thing. It just feels a bit feels a bit of an odd direction, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's the first thing I saw was the image that obviously we've used for spotlighting. It's Samoa Joe covered in blood with the AEW World title. I was like, fuck's sake. I knew I should have installed Twitter from my phone. Or maybe I saw it on the Discord. I can't remember what it was. To be fair, our Discord was quite quiet on Saturday nights. I think we put everyone to sleep after all of the energy of the quiz. Or to be honest, maybe it says something about interest levels going into this AEW pay-per-view. But I probably should have been filled with adrenaline and happiness, and I wasn't, to be honest. My first reaction to it was oh, fucking hell, what have they done? And I had to, as we're going to do here on the podcast, I had to go to it first. That was the first thing I saw from the pay-per-view. And then I worked backwards and pretty much caught up all the way today. Even stopping on a couple of matches twice, but you might not be proud of me, Gareth, when you find out which couple of matches it was that I saw twice before this review. But yeah, I had to go there and put it on and see it for myself, because I was all right, well, there must be must be some kind of justification for this. It must be, some kind of story well told. There must be something interesting that happened with, I don't know, Powerhouse Hobbs, or maybe there's something I'm missing here with like a big return or something like that. I hadn't read about Swerve coming back at that point. And then I found out that it was a story centered around Hook, and my my already ready-made skepticism kind of went to an even lower place. And I know there's mixed reactions out there in our community. Even we've seen a couple of people kind of want to defend it. As you've mentioned, we've had Matty come in 2-footed, who I believe I have on Weekend Show this week. So look forward to his takes on it on Weekend Show of Samoa Joe being the AEW World Champion in 2025. But I think the first place I've got to go to, Gareth, the thing that kind of shot me putting it on was like, firstly, and again, I hadn't seen the matches before it, so I just couldn't believe like how heatless it all felt. Like for how cool the image of Joe covered in blood was. I thought, all right, well, I'm getting something cool and dramatic here, and it was just like, they make fun of us for being beans on toast eaters and miserable fuckers, but like I've been there. I've been in the arena for a Full Gear, and in New Jersey, they were clearly struggling once it got to about 11:30. They couldn't do my job, Gareth, out here this late at night. But like you could just tell the crowd were tired and kind of not into it. Like there wasn't really much going on there, and it really was like I knew at that point when I put it on that the pay-per-view ran 4.5 hours, and like you've done before, I could also see the runtime. I was like, hang on, there's only 20 minutes left here. How long does this match even go? To find out that it was kind of a bit of a 15-minute nothing, and like I literally, once the interference started, I was kind of like, all right, here we go. Cage matches don't mean anything in 2025. I'm ready to make that miserable old man talking point on Grapple. Then Eddie Kingston gets involved, and all right, okay, things are looking up. Maybe Eddie Kingston plays into this, and then, as I mentioned, Hook comes out, and straight away I was like, all right, I know what's happened there. There's no way they're really doing it. There's no way they're really doing it with his orange trackie on, and then he pulls it off to reveal his Ops t-shirt like he's joined the NWO Wolfpack in 1998, and I just burst out laughing. Like it wasn't even 1998 NWO, it was more like silver and black NWO, because like Swerve, bro, I feel like Matty should like this, because like they didn't see it coming, bro, because Hook being this big a factor in the main event finish is not something I saw coming. And to add to it, like I say, I'd gone in kind of thinking, oh, well, at least maybe it's going to be positive here. Maybe like, Samoa Joe being Samoa Joe, who like has been given, I will say from the top, a thankless task of trying to heat up this Hangman Page program over the last 2 months when he's not really been set up for it. He's been doing trios garbage for months, since he lost the title the last time. But like he does the best he can with this stuff. Okay, well maybe he still wins in an interesting way, and it's like, nope, it's just a dumb, like I say, Swerve bro finish with Hook, and Samoa Joe gets a cheap win. It just, I've thrown a lot of talking points at you there, Gareth, but it just stunk of Death Riders Jr. for me, and it's like not even like it just feels like the role of the Death Riders are now played by the Ops. And I just came out of it just thinking there's just no ideas here. And like the Ops Dojo lads come out, and obviously we can talk more about what happens post-match with Swerve and stuff. But like, even if I was skeptical of the idea going in, and that's me talking, somebody who fucking loves Samoa Joe and would call him one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, I don't want to start where everyone else is starting. It's the execution for me that is the biggest problem here. And it's the background leading into it that you can get into it as well. But like, even being charitable, I couldn't believe what I was seeing with my own eyes.
Yeah, and I think that's half the thing, isn't it? Because like you sort of allude there to, Joe's probably done his best, like in this feud. So I think when we were on here talking about like the last pay-per-view and things, he's still convincing, he's still credible, he's still a relevant, recently
Samoa Joe,
world champion. He's still Samoa Joe at the end of the day. When he's at the mic, he's been good with the mic. When he's had beat downs and things like that, it still looks like aggressive. He still comes across as hard. He still comes across as cool and things. So in a very short window, I think he'd sort of like elevated himself back up to that last match that they had to, put himself back on that position. I never thought for a second it was putting himself back up on a position now here to walk away with the belt. And I've just got to echo what you say there when you come to it. Like, do I have a problem with Samoa Joe being the world champion? Like, absolute, like to me, no kind of thing. I don't, because yeah, he carries the belt well. He looks like he looks like a world champion and things. And I'm so the same as you. It's the execution for it for me that has just totally just left that sort of sour taste in my mouth, because it should never feel like bizarre. I think when a world title changes hands, it should never feel like where's that come from, or like why's that been pieced together in the way that it has. And it almost just feels like lazy. It just feels like it was almost like something that it was like sat down in the back on the morning of the show, like, oh, should we do this? And well, are we going to do this? Or well, we could get Hook involved, sort of thing. It doesn't
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like there's been okay, yeah, you want it to come out of nowhere, but it almost does. When you've got something coming out of nowhere, there's still got to be small story details to get
absolutely.
to that, to feel like there's some reasoning or justification, or haha, look at the way we did this, we hoodwinked you all, kind of thing. But there's not. It almost just feels like Joe's been going about his business, Hook's been going about his business on the side, and there's
Yeah,
not enough sort of dots there to join in
massively.
between to make it feel like this was a thing. Like it totally just feels like a decision that they've just gone like, oh, let's just do this. Like, why? Oh, because kind of thing. It doesn't feel like it's got any level of substance behind the
No,
thought process.
and yeah, and that's the issue. Like with it, like the biggest issue for it for me, because like I say, I am gonna be forgiven to you putting Samoa Joe in this position because I was forgiven the last time they did it, and then the execution was kind of shit. And as Andy Elton does rightly say in the chat, after we kind of saw it once before, even I wasn't really like, all right, I nearly need to see this in 2025, Joe with the belt again. Fucking hell, you'd have to really come up with some good creative to get him to that point. And we've been consistent about it. I said the same thing when they put him in the program with Hangman. Like, if this is your plan, like, it's just basic booking competence, isn't it? To have like Joe with, like you said there, it can be a surprise, but then you look at it and go, you know what? To be fair, Joe has been winning a lot of singles matches lately. I remember that pay per view recently where he had that big match. None of that happens, and the same with Hook, where you might be able to go, oh, but you know what? They've been setting him up to fill this role and to be this important character because of the work they've done. No, they haven't. Like you say, it feels. It's one thing if it's like they just decide to rip things up on the day. It's like, fuck it, everyone thinks the TV is too predictable. We're going to do something wild. I'll hear that out. But I think it's the most unlikely scenario. I think the actual scenario is just incompetence. I think this was the plan. I think this was where they wanted to go, and they just didn't do the work to get there. They didn't do the work to get Joe to that position. They didn't do the work to get Hook to that position. And the bigger conversation, they didn't do the work. No matter because again, I'm seeing a lot of side conversations about the length of Hangman Page's run. And I don't even think that's. I think that misses the point of the conversation. It's past the it's what is it, like 150 days, something like that. It's past a decent enough mark. It's just been inconsequential, is what it's been. It's been a run where, same as the last time, there hasn't been really good, credible challenges. There hasn't been good stories told. The MJF was kind of half a one, but not really. We all kind of applauded the idea of putting Kyle Fletcher in the position for a match with Hangman, but again, that was a bit of a stretch, but we were willing to be forgiven of it as long as there was more substantive stuff coming. And I think that's the other thing that's happened here. I think people aren't necessarily disappointed with the reign. I think they're disappointed, as we were the first time Hangman Page had the title, with just the lack of important stuff that he's been doing, or that just a lack of preparation for it to be like, all right, he's lost it now. I'm a bit gutted about it, but we'll see what's next. It feels like a half-written book, and I don't think it's because plans change. I think it's a half-written book because it's a half-written book, and like what happened last time, they're just not good at booking Hangman Page on top. I mean, we've argued before, Tony Khan's not good at booking babyface champions, but like, yeah, I think the blame on his part as well. Because again, I've seen some conversation about, oh, maybe Hangman's not ready for the role, or maybe Hangman's not a great champion. I don't think he put a foot wrong in this title run. I don't think he really put a foot wrong in the first title run. It's the presentation and it's the execution of his title run. It's the work you have to do to have people ready for him to face, the work you have to do to pick a name out of a hat, Ricochet ready to be a challenger at some point, or to get, I don't know, Hobbs, who looked great on TV the other week. You could have built him up over time, but that work wasn't done. And I don't think any of that's Hangman's fault either. It's all of that lack of preparation. I think it's true on all 3 points for Joe, for Hook, and for Hangman now, for this to be the end of yet another title run for him.
Yeah, and I think when you I think coming off the back of the last pay-per-view as well, you almost had that feeling of like, okay, yeah, we can accept this, that, you want to give him some defenses. You want to give him some defenses against credible opponents that he can beat, and he can go out and he can start to kind of like build a bit of momentum in his reign. And that's probably like the position that I felt like he was in. And, I was sort of like excited of, okay, once he gets past Joe, like there's a proper feud around the corner. There's a big world title feud for him that he can get his teeth into, and we can have a proper, not just taking on Challenger of the Month or something like that. It's something where there's a bit more like heat that goes into it. There's a bit more, something that can be stretched out over a series of matches, and maybe we'd drop it then because it feels like something's a bit more consequential, or it feels like there has been something that's been laid out a bit more properly for that to for that to take place. So for me, that's almost like the most shocking part is that we built to that great moment of him winning the belt. And then how many times do we say this about AEW? Like you get that big moment and then it's and what next? And he doesn't have the what next because it runs to that point and then it's almost like, all right, he's got the belt now. Like shit. It's like scrambling for some stuff to do. And like, you're like, well, come on, you've done this once before and sort of shit the bed with his world title run. This was supposed to be the world title run for Hangman Page, the big establishing homegrown AEW world champion run that's been, not necessarily designed over a period of years, but something that they've adapted and, they've changed the story along the way and they've lent into things that have circumstantially happened and things like that to make it feel more than, and they've capitalized on, situations, be it around injuries and things like that, to put Hangman back in that place. But like, it felt like a babyface world champion that you'd have run through a brick wall for the night he won the belt, kind of thing, and then they've just turned the gas off like completely to get to this point. And it is, I think lazy is the word that I've kind of stumbled on in my head. And even when you like, this hook side of things that I was mentioning there, somebody might turn around and tell me this happened, but if it did happen, it's not something I've noticed. But I don't know, you'd have those things where if he's in a match with Joe, him not taking any damage or not throwing any digs or anything like that and stuff, that you'd kind of be a bit like, oh, hang about, they've never touched in the ring here, kind of, in a 6-man or something like that. That may well have happened, but if it did, I don't feel like it did, kind of thing. I felt like they were definitely in there.
No.
I've definitely seen them wrestling each other, or at least kind of on the other side of like, angles or something like that, where there's a bit of physicality and things going in. So I don't know, just little things like that.
Joe beat him, didn't he, to get this title shot? He literally beat him, and it's like, well, did he throw the match then? Like Platt says in the chat, there was all a long con. Him checking on Eddie Kingston was all a plan for this. Like, again, what's Eddie Kingston got to do then? And it doesn't fit together. The pieces don't fit together. They only fit together if you literally copy your own homework and you've decided that the character of Wheeler Yuta is now played by Hook. Wheeler Yuta's done so good in his role, and Gareth, you were so justified by your defenses of Wheeler Yuta as the runt of the Death Riders that they decided to create another one in Daniel Garcia and create another one in Hook. Like, again, if this story was one of those guys with the Death Riders, I could see it, but it's almost like it's just been copied over to here. And again, Hook being the centre of it, you can't get away from that. Like, Hook's just fucking nothing, and he's a gigantic nothing. And we've seen it over the last 3 years, pretty much, from the hope we all had for Hook to be something. Like, he has not earned his space and his place and his importance in this gigantic title change in this story like that. You can't just randomly heat up Hook and pretend that, like, he's this important character. We should have been paying attention to you this entire time. Like, that's another big gap, and that's another bit of laziness where the work just wasn't done.
And if anything, Hook has gone backwards. Like, I don't think he's improved in the ring. I don't think he's certainly not as over with the crowd as he was when he was sort of the brooding, not talking, handsome guy in the background, sort of, that first got him over in the first place. The crowd just don't react to him. They don't care about him anymore. And plus, like, it doesn't help that he's 10 stone as well, and you're throwing him into the mixer here as well. Like, just the optics, like the visuals of it, just don't seem off as well. Like, it just. A total bizarre individual to sort of select and make this, be about. It's like, again, it just feels sort of, it's coming back to that thing of feeling a bit like, oh, it's lazy. We haven't done the work, so what's the best way we can do this? Like, oh, him, but then nothing makes sense around it. I hate when something like this that happens when there is a big title change or a shocking title change, and you just sat there thinking, this could have been done so much better. Like, if this had actually had a modicum of thought put into it, and it might not have been Joe, it might have been another heel that they could have chosen to, if this ends up just being a transitional, run for, say, Swerve to then get the belt back and things to help them, move on to whatever storyline that they've got planned next around Swerve and things. But there's like, there's just alternative ways of doing this that they could have worked with there. You know, like it's just disappointing. But Samoa Joe as a champion, yeah, he's going to be fine. He's going to do his job. He's going to do it to the better abilities than certain people will. But like, is that what you should be wanting for the end of Hangman Page's reign, or after the long wait for him to get the belt back? Like, not for me.
Samoa Joe is your comfort blanket. I get it. It's Samoa Joe. But like a second time, it's damning on, like Simon said there in the chat, not pulling trigger on guys because on the spreadsheet, not getting somebody else ready for this spot. Matty's going to go on about the fact, Joe's age and all of that. I'm not so bothered about that, but I do broadly agree that there probably should be another name that can fit into this role. It shouldn't be up to Joe to try and save us again. And like, just to catch another bit of feedback, just because we kind of moved on from it, to open again, like on Hangman, like I don't want it to sound like as well that I don't think it's, let me put it this way, I think it's plausible that he could be a better chaser than champion. I just don't think we've got the evidence here to say that. Like I said before, I don't think they booked him in good feuds. I don't think they really booked him as the top or most important guy on the shows, or really in a significant enough way. In either title run, you could say that, or both his title runs there. And like I say, they didn't set up challenges for him, just like they didn't set up a lot of other things in this. And I mean, that even takes us to like the Swerve conversation. Like, they didn't, Swerve's involvement in all this in the post-match, it was, again, great moment. It did bring the crowd to life. Brought me to life, mate, with the Raekwon song. I was banging to that. I'm sure you were loving that as well, with his massive indulgent intro.
Raekwon.
But of X Factor. Saw him working in Bootle Strand once, so I don't know if he was working there, but I don't know how far those X Factor millions go for you. But like, yeah, like that, it's great to see Swerve back. It's cool to see Swerve back. That might be, I was going to ask you about, what are some positive ways that could go. This could be one, but again, that just felt like, hang on, who took Swerve out? Wasn't it Okada? Weren't like the ops on Swerve's side when he left? Weren't like, we all fighting the Death Riders? Again, feels copy and paste. It feels like Swerve's attitude towards the ops is what his attitude is towards the Death Riders, and we're just supposed to transplant it over, because like, what has any of it got to do with him, really? What's he got to do with Joe and Hangman at this point? Like I say, he was beefing with Okada. Joe's not the one that took him out. Like, if you had this plan, maybe that's what you do way back when, and then we go, oh, right, okay, that's where Joe turned heel, and now I get it. Now I get why we've ended up where we are. Same thing with Ospreay. I said it when Ospreay got taken out. I was like, you can't tell me in a year or whenever Ospreay comes back that they're going to want to go back to, a feud with Moxley or whatever. Like, they should have just let that moment be what it was. And we've done this a few times in AEW where people get taken out for, by an injury, and then they come back and they just pretend it didn't happen. Eddie Kingston, he's come back and he's just kind of getting on with things, isn't he? He's not really, maybe that might be a positive. Maybe him getting involved in all this stuff might be a positive, but like, it's almost like there's a scene missing there. And yeah, that kind of all went to like the weird, again, I use the word indulgent, kind of beat down of the weird ops sidemen that were out there as well. It was just fucking strange to see. And then we end the show with, I think Hangman did a good job for his part of trying to sell, standing next to Swerve, but like, can't believe what's just happened, and his whole life is gone, and he's lost his world title. But Excalibur's screaming about Joe and not necessarily about Hangman there, and we're kind of all supposed to enjoy the photo op here with Swerve and Hangman, but I'm not sure about that either. I made up Swerve's back, but his fitting into this just was another thing, that cherry on top of just, like I say, a last 20 minutes of a pay-per-view that really didn't work for me.
And just you saying there, sorry, just about the Okada thing with Swerve, like why not make Okada beat him then, kind of, and it'd be a Don Callis family thing that have helped out, and then that gives Swerve like a justifiable reason to then come back and be in this position, and it's something like, it's a world title thing, Okada, and it sort of feels a bit more justifiable with Hangman. I mean, that's just that. To me, that just immediately feels like something, there's a bit more legs there in that, and it feels a bit more joined up, even just hearing that and just like thinking that on the fly. But yeah, the whole, the ops guys, the ops dojo guys, that prominent part of TV for months on end, the ops dojo, who
prominent camera time, weren't they? That bloke with the ponytail was making sure he was right in the middle of the fucking camera while Joe was trying to celebrate.
Unreal, like the. Again, just a load of like local talent suddenly like pinged into there, and like
looked like security, didn't he?
Having to be leaned upon to make some reason of it. And the thing obviously is like Swerve like had his injury and like or whatever been away. this, we always come back to this thing of like Tony Khan having these ideas in his head and like an inability to pivot into a certain, direction and kind of go with it and then like come back with it. This almost feels like an idea that he had in his head from like months ago, that he has his Hangman and his Swerve element of this story that he's got going on in his head, and he's got to kind of just almost just U-turn out of what he's doing now. Swerve's fit again and try and get back to where he wanted to go in some some way. But again, it's a sort of thing that you just transition to better. And I mean, given the way that TV has been, and the fact that it's been fine for a time period, I wouldn't say it's been bad, but it's certainly not been
it's not been interesting,
desperately wanting to watch it or things like that. As soon as you see Swerve at the top of the ramp, you're like, great, kind of thing. We've got a proper,
that's a positive, it is.
Top star back there. And then you look at he's been eating well in his time off, and the old big guns that he's got on display there, and putting a bit of beef on there, old Swerve. I was thinking, oh yeah, he looks even more credible as a heavyweight here, like coming down to the ring. So I'm right here for massive Swerve, but yeah, I mean, it does open the lane for something to happen. Interesting. Delighted to see him back. Delighted to see how the relationship with him and Hangman then like evolves from here. So definitely there are some potential positives again, but you're sat in a world where you're going, they've got to nail the execution then on getting this, and where does this go from getting the belt off Joe, and how does it happen? I don't know. You get caught in these sort of like faithless moments with them sometimes, or questioning moments when they don't land things as well as they could and should have. You do start to doubt their ability to do it right, and that's always my worry. I hate it when I'm sort of almost, they landed the Hangman win so well, and it's like, of course they landed the Hangman loss so bad, kind of thing, because they can't have that level of consistent, brilliance along the way. But let it play out, mate.
We were told that the first title run, and here we are again. It's wild. It is, and maybe we'll see how it, say, the different theories have been banded about. That this is Tony, going back to his, because a lot of this paper you were going to get into does feel like a bit of a reset. It's like, oh yeah, remember wanted to get to FTR versus Cope and Christian? Well, we're fucking getting there by hook or by crook. Like maybe his idea is that we're getting back to Darby. We're going to do what I want to do all along, and Darby's going to be the world champion, or maybe it is just a way to get it back to Swerve. Some people have kind of said maybe it's a way to continue. I wouldn't continue this Hangman and Joe program, and Hangman just gets it back at World's End, and it was just a way to kind of give this more juice for a feud that doesn't really have any juice. I wouldn't say, pun intended, that juice is worth the squeeze to get there, but like, they're the only real plausible scenarios I see coming out of this. Some are more positive on others. Like I say, if we use this as a way to heat up Eddie Kingston, and I'd love for him to just turn up on Dynamite and send Hook back to his home planet, because I think there's one Dynamite's worth of heating Hook, and then I think we're done. He hasn't. I said it about Willie Eater, so maybe I'll end up being wrong, but I don't think he's got the stripes to use this heat for really anything. I think so. I think it's a bit wasted on him. So maybe just have Eddie Kingston kill him, and we push forward with Eddie Kingston. But maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know. Before we move on, if you got any other theories or any other takes on this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. It just depends purely, doesn't it, how long this Joe reign ends up being.
And it's Joe too, like you said at the top. It's still Samoa Joe, and maybe in a week I'm going to go, you were a young man, you were a Joe versus Kobashi 20 years ago. How dare you doubt Samoa Joe? And he turns me round, but. Even me, this is Joe at the twilight of his career, and I don't think the last world title run really set things like that. I'm going to be surprised even if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, is he credible as a world champion? I still think he is. Because like, he looks great, stood there with the blood on him, holding the belt and things. You're like, yeah, that looks like some proper old school world champion who looks like on any given day he could absolutely kill you if he decided he was going to kill you. Like, I love that element of a world champion there. And if given that I won't be on the weekend show, if Matty does come back at you on the age front there when it comes to Samoa Joe, just a little reminder that his 1 year younger than the World Wrestling Entertainment World Heavyweight Champion, and probably less washed than him as well. There, and I'm assuming CM Punk's got the belt there as well. So maybe Tony's just been tuning in and watching his Fed and thought, I'll put the belt on somebody old, less old, but still old and washed than old Phil Brooks.
So telling me that in 2005, Joe and Punk are going to be the two. Well, Punk's not really the world champion, but the fake world champion. It's 20 years later. Fucking time. Unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
so dejecting, isn't it? It's a horrible feeling coming out of the pay, because there's good things on this pay-per-view to talk about as well, but like, I don't really know anybody with any sense who's massively defending this. Like, there's some who are wanting to wait and let this play out, and I think that's fair. But outside of that, I think, like I say, if you've not got me defending Samoa Joe winning a world title, I don't see anybody else out there doing it. And like I say, it's catnip for people like fucking Matty. I know JP feels the same as us as well. It's just, it's just such an own goal.
That's it, you know. At the end of the day, I don't want to feel like repeating myself too much, but it's just the idea that it's something that's happened, and then if it that could have just been delivered so much better, and that is the disappointing aspect for it. Is it that it's just a bit lame, it's just a bit lazy, it's just a bit weak how they've gone about it. And if it did have the substance behind it, you wouldn't be getting the same backlash. Like, if it felt real and credible that, you know, this could happen, and it felt like that there was that real credibility around the circumstances in which it would happen, then fine, sort of thing. You know, it would. I don't think it would, but I think it just feels like again, I've not been on social media, I don't know, but it just feels like people just probably feel a bit let down, because I kind of feel a bit let down given how, you know, invested in that Hangman title win I did genuinely feel.
And again, it's not Samoa Joe either. Like you said there, there's a way of doing this with Joe, and it's not him being that cowardly leader of a stable who, you know, wins with this bullshit with Hook getting involved. Like, that's not how you try and book Samoa Joe as a world champion in 2025 either. I don't think he's cast particularly well in that role either. But there we go. There's our thoughts on it. Did you have anything more on the match itself? Like I said, I kind of brushed over it because I don't think there wasn't up to much on the match. I think we can probably move back to the start of the show, but it was fine, but it was coming at the end of a very long show, which is the obvious talking point as we reran to the start. And I don't think it had much to go off either.
Yeah, I mean, like from a match point of view, I don't think there was I don't think there was much there. And like, probably just to loop things back to one of the first things that you were saying there about the crowd and the crowd reaction to it, and like, as great as a blade job that Samoa Joe did, and as great as that visual above your head looks like with all that proper Crimson Mask going on there, at the end of the day, what is he, maybe the 12th guy to bleed on the show or something like that as well, probably, you know. So it does lose a bit of its sort of luster really when it comes to you know, that side of things as well. So you can imagine being in that crowd and just being like, oh yeah, more kind of no holds barred violence that's happened here, a bit more blood. Like, you know, if you see the same thing again and again, it does, you know, it does lose that engagement. It does lose lose the shock factor a bit with the crowd and things like that as well. So it kind of, you know, that felt a bit hand in hand really, that with not much going on in the ring, and then the actual violence of it being a bit like, well, actually this is a bit less than lots of stuff we've already seen on the show so far. Like, what is there for us to kind of get engaged with here and get off sitting on our hands and actually shout a bit? Not much really. So
no, it's like I said at the top, it's come to something. When the people in New York are no longer calling me a bean-eating bastard and seem to be agreeing with me when it comes to the length of these shows. But like, it felt like, I mean, maybe, you know, in the presser, Tony Khan did say, you know, that he was thinking that maybe next time they're on the East Coast, they might either start a bit earlier and commit to doing a shorter show, but maybe you should probably think about that. But yeah, that can't be avoided either. The crowd felt knackered by the end of this thing. And if we rewind back to the start, it's no wonder, 4.5 hour pay-per-view, and add the extra hour plus of the tailgate that kicked us off, Gareth. I don't expect you to have long form thoughts on any of this stuff, because we don't want this to run too long either. But did you have any quick thoughts on the pre-show here? I will say the one match, well, there's two, but the one main match that I did watch twice was for my sins, mate, the QT Marshall and Big Boom AJ match from this pre-show. But I enjoyed that. I don't know about the rest of it, and obviously we had the Okada and Takeshita tag that led into the main show. But I don't know. I've got a soft spot for QT Marshall. What can I say? I said on the Discord, I don't want to see a lot more QT Marshall, but I want to see a little bit more QT. I want more QT Marshall. A lot would be strong, but a little more, because I quite enjoy him in this role, and I enjoyed that on the pre-show, even if I'm guessing maybe you didn't.
I mean, it's one of those. It was one of those matches that's perfectly executed for what it is, isn't it? It's almost like a
same as last year.
It's like camp. It's like a camp show, or it's like when you get a match of this ilk, maybe back in the day on a PCW show, before you'd then have Prince Devitt against Chris Travis or something like that. You'd have a match that was a bit of fun, that was almost like an old school style thing, before you had like a genuine workers match. And again, it's just that yay boo, heel face kind of stuff with the spots of everyone brought in. Do I want to be watching it every week? Absolutely not, kind of thing. But does it have its place on a pre-show for something like this? Absolutely, more so than random 6-person tag match that they've just thrown together just to go out there and do some moves. This is, probably when I was watching that match, I was like, you're not going to get crowd reactions like this for many of these matches, because the crowd were right into some of the just the old school wrestling style spots that were going on in this. Did I love it? No. Did I have a reasonable amount of fun watching it? Yes. Would I have watched it twice? You're mad, mate.
Old school wrestling spots like QT Marshall doing the Osprey handspring kick thing that he does. Love all of that. Yeah, I just think there's a place for him more as a heel, bumping and stooging QT Marshall. But I had a good laugh with watching them get the babyface spots off in that one. But yeah, outside of that, not much else to say outside of the tag on 200. Juice Robinson and Young Gun won the $200,000. What can you really say outside of that? And obviously Eddie Kingston and Hook versus the Workhorsemen. That was the one team me and JP didn't guess on the weekend show was going to be the potential opponents there. Really didn't amount to much, and meant even less by the time we got to the end of the night. But we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, the other notable thing obviously is you do a good idea once, Gareth, and I did enjoy the bit of you and JP kicking off the last pay-per-view spotlight. Why not just repeat it again? Then this time with a card of Takeshita and Hechizero versus Mystico, Mascara Dorada, and Neon, with unfortunately Alex Abrahantes. As yes, this was one of those pre-show matches that went into the main show. A good idea we all enjoyed. You probably just don't have to do it immediately the month after. Maybe wait a couple of months, Tony, and do it again then. But I did get a kick out of a Okada using it to kind of, okay, he comes out now, it's a pay-per-view, and getting his big entrance. And I did enjoy the Okada and Takeshita miscommunication stuff with the suplex spots and everything that's obviously leading into the Continental Classic there with those two as well. But yeah, what did you make of the decision to lead us into the pay-per-view with this, and what did you make of the match itself?
I mean, because I didn't watch the tailgate until after I'd watched the main pay-per-view. So then obviously I watched the pay-per-view and start mid-match again, and I was like, for fuck's sake, I have a bit of restraint. Like, come on. Yeah, okay, it worked last time and there was a lot of positives about it, but like seriously, just you don't go to the well too often, like make it different, make it special, because if you do it all the time, then it's not different, it's not special. But I think they did their, I don't know, at least with this one, I think it had that nuanced element of the Okada not coming out until the main show, which I thought that did work, and I think that was like a really nice touch there. So him getting the entrance on the pay-per-view, like at the end of the pre-show, him pulling up in his car in his wrestling trunks. Like, I was pissing myself at that, getting out of the car in his trunks, like going and grabbing his belt and to come. So eventually, saw that a bit later on. But I think we talk about them not put in long-term thought into things at the main event level, I think this is something that they're just nailing, and they're nailing so well, this Okada Takeshita, because they could, and potentially in the past would have pulled the trigger on it a bit earlier than they have, but they've just kept at it, and you'd think surely surely something's got to happen now, but no, they're just managing to credibly drag it out for another couple of weeks and another couple of weeks till we get to ultimately like where we're going to get that big blow off. But I mean, anytime they're in the ring, the pair of them, they just look so good together. They just look so good opposite each other.
You can tell they're enjoying it.
Okada looks like he's got like a bit of like spark back about him or something like that. You can tell that he's proper into it, and he's really, really enjoying like doing the bits that he is, leading into it. And then you look at it and it feels okay. We're not talking about a decade ago Okada sort of thing, but surely these two can't miss when they go at it in the ring, and then they end up like having a match. There's going to be some like great stuff, to come off the back of this. Crowd are going to be right behind Takeshita there because again, he's someone who's organically got himself like massively over with this crowd. Like this is one of the things there where you're just like, well done, and I can't wait. This is one of the things that are like keeping you going. This is one of the things that are like an element of the product that you can be really interested in, and importantly feels a little bit different to a lot of the stuff that's going on the show as well, really. So it's something that sort of feels like it's got its own lane that this is happening in as well, really. So good stuff, real good stuff.
As you say, Okada looks like he's enjoying it, even in like the pre-tape later on. Like you can tell he's just loving going back and forth with Takeshita, and he just it's something to sink his teeth into, and it's clearly somebody he sees something into, and hopefully that means he's motivated to give us, about one of the better Okada performances when they do eventually properly wrestle, whether it's in America or it's in Japan. I love it. I think it's great, and it was definitely the thing that tied together that match. And like I say, a bit of a match of two halves to kick us off, but really our proper first opener on the pay-per-view was Pac versus Darby Allin, and I thought this one is the side feud I didn't know I needed. Very much enjoy the chemistry. Obviously, these two having there. Love the little. There was a lot of these on the show. The Darby video to kind of set us up after his burns that he suffered. Couldn't really see them once he actually got out there, but I think it was a good bit of cinematography, and like I say, the chemistry between these two is where maybe start this conversation, because Darby's going to bump like a madman, and he does. In the heat for this, as far as like hitting the post and getting gorilla pressed onto the floor and all those spots, but I mean, it feels like he hurts himself as much on his comebacks, and Pac, for his part, is willing to take it as well, willing to sit on the chair and let Darby dive on him, and willing to, like you get a lot with Darby. You get certain wrestlers who seem to be a bit cautious with him, and certain wrestlers who you're enjoying it, like when you were a kid and you were wrestling with a pillow or wrestling with one of those, those wrestling buddy things you had, like the Hogan and Warrior ones, and you're just launching them around the room. Pac just feels like one of those guys, and he's just having the time of his life, just suplexing Darby into the corner, like taking his head off with a lariat. Darby coming back in kind as well, and it's just physically these two seem to have loads of chemistry, and again, like we were saying about the other two there, they seem to really enjoy working with each other. I thought this was a great way to properly open the pay-per-view.
100%. And like again, this was one where I was just watching this and just thinking, like, my God, I mean, how good is Pac? Like, he's so good, and like he's so good in this role that he's in currently. Like, he comes across as so believable as this nasty little bastard. Like, like no pun intended there, but he's got the athleticism to back it up. He's got the way he strikes, with the way he hits you with a lariat and things like that. Like, just everything about him just feels like so believable and so credible. And again, it just feels like that's another one there that you just think, like, if he could be relied on, be it for injuries or being in the country or whatever, just as a push commodity at the top of the card, like, again, he's somebody else who could be sort of thrown into that position, because I think everyone that he's been put in there of late, like, it's just done such a great job. And this match, like you say, they're just like perfect sort of bedfellows, aren't they? Really, again, with I think the the fundamentals of Pac as well, but then obviously just the size of Darby just enable him to just throw some of the spots that they did in there. I just think some of with the stuff like around the burns and the bandages and things there, where like Pac's sort of when he's removing the bandages and he's like burning his arm kind of thing with his own hands, like his own grip on there and his nails in the back, and it's just like like he just like comes across horrible there, but then he's he's landing like obviously good wrestling stuff alongside that as well, just like absolutely like perfect fundamentals there too with that. Like just I can't get enough Pac at the minute, and to be honest, like on the back of like say like the blood and guts, just like the visual off the stage with Pac and then Darby into the flaming table, and they're just so great. They just look perfect for each other. And when we're talking about the main event, you were talking about is this Darby, is the Joe thing, is this a route to go back down the Darby route or something like that? I'm thinking, fuck, they could have done something here and just strapped up Pac as the alternative, and then Pac and Darby at that level, and that would feel totally credible, there. And there's a story to tell alongside that going on with the Death Riders and Pac becoming the top guy and Mox getting fucked off out of it and things like that. There's other interesting like layers and levels that potentially like that could have worked into. But if they want to keep this feud going and just work this into a best of 7 or something like that, I'll be fucking here all day long, because I could just watch these work week in, week out.
Same, and I love as well, like you mentioned there, like the great physical chemistry and the spots in there. I love as well, like the similar to what they were doing with Kyle O'Reilly, but like Darby's version of the sharpshooter, like being a threat now. Of the Scorpion Deathlock being a threat now, and Pac selling it and it feeling like it's the end. And again, we said earlier about like it's the execution of the main event as well as our depression over what next for Hangman Page is the real kicker for the main event. Like this was your blueprint. These are the right characters to do this. Like Wheeler Yuta getting involved in the finish, and Pac, taking advantage the way he did. Like that is Wheeler Yuta is perfectly cast for that role. Pac is perfectly cast to take advantage of it. Darby is perfectly cast to be the victim of it. What a better version of what we saw in the main event. I feel like whoever agented this probably wasn't the same person who agented how they executed the main event version, because this was the superior version of it, just to add on to it as well.
And again, just it being that wrinkle there with the Scorpion Deathlock as well. If it been, Mox tapped out to that, but then Pac using the underhanded tactic to not tap out of that to escape. So he was one step ahead of it almost. It's just sort
which
of
adds to that story.
Feeding into the what's going on with Moxley at the minute, and him losing and things, and losing power and credibility to within the Death Riders as well. Again, that's just a small detail there that makes sense kind of thing. Mox tapped to that, like Pac didn't, and because Pac was lined up with to get the bat and wallop him with it and change things. So it just
despite saying he wouldn't use weapons, which again works, doesn't it? Like
elevates it like brilliant, real good stuff. Well,
from there, we went to the, again, there might be a reason these cards are long. For some reason, we had the women's tag 4-way with Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Marita Shafir, Megan Bay, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, and Will Nightingale and Harley Cameron. A mouthful to me to say, because none of them are actually tag teams, and that might be the problem with this tag team division that's trying to get off the ground. But it again speaks to the AEW booking problem, where it's like, rather than put the effort in setting this up, or having a period where there are real tag teams and then having a tag team belt and then having a tag team tournament, we'll just fucking throw a tournament together and it'll be a bit confusing. And then people are saying we're not giving them enough time or enough focus. All right, they get a pay-per-view match and they get 20 minutes and it gets to be over what the stipulation will be in the semi-final. Maybe do the other stuff instead rather than doing this and making the pay-per-view 20 minutes longer, because I don't know if any of these teams have left an impression on you, but I think it's a bit of a busted flush this tournament, even if maybe Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa work as a couple of singles wrestlers as a team for the time being, and Marina Shafir and Megan Bain have shown a little bit of chemistry, but I don't know. This felt like time that you could have spent doing a bit more productively on a Dynamite or a Collision.
Yeah, I suppose you look at this and you go like, well, what's the positive here? And you're like, well, 8 women have got to be on a pay-per-view, which
it's probably what they were thinking.
Is a good thing. I think when you look at the tournament as a whole, and then you look at the TV time that it gives some of the women wrestlers, I kind of almost feel like Julia Hart and Sky Blue feel like they've had a decent bit of time out there. Obviously, Sky Blue getting the good spots in Blood and Guts and things like that. It feels like it's been an opportunity for them to sort of move on. It's kept Tony Storm busy with the Mina Shirakawa stuff and things coming out of not having the belt. So that feels like it's worked as an element there. Obviously, you know, the thrown together team of Megan Bain and Marina Shafir just feels a bit clunky and a bit weird. You know that Marina Shafir is gonna like have that tag team relationship with somebody else coming back out of what the Death Riders have done for the last 12 months. That feels a bit odd. And you know, if Willow Nightingale's not going to be involved in the world title picture, then she's just kind of a bankable commodity to just put on your TV and, you know, people are going to react to and things. So, you know, while there's better things I think I'd rather she was doing, you know, again, I'm not totally turned off to the idea of her and Harley Cameron here. So I think there's some, while it's not perfect, while I think there's better things that could have been done on the pay-per-view, while I think there's certainly better ways in which the tournament itself could have been set up, you know, you can pick some elements of some positives here. And, you know, and I think at points during this match, again, while it's not a match I'm going to come away and say like, oh yeah, that was a really good match, and like I was well into that, and I'm obviously never going to watch it ever again in my life, kind of thing. But the crowd did react to stuff here, which I think was important. The you know, when there was things there with you know, I think when Megan Bain did that sort of double back suplex on Sky Blue and Julia Hart, that got like a real big pop from
there was like a run of spots where the crowd did come with them. You are right.
Willow immediately followed that with like the pounce, and the crowd were really with Willow for that there. And you know, I think there was, you had that little run. So again, we've seen plenty of women's matches in the past as well where it feels like the wrestling to crickets, doesn't it? You know, really. So again, it was good that they had those recognisable things or big spots that got reactions from the crowd there, which can only be a good thing. Does it need to be on the card for a 4.5 hour pay-per-view? Again, like you say, probably not. It can be on TV, but it's there. They did the best job with it that it was, and you know, it wasn't offensive, it wasn't bad. So, you know,
no, it's no slight on the women either, is it? No, like the people leg. Like you're absolutely right. There was that run of spots that got over. You know, Willow's always gonna get whatever she's doing over. Tony Storm's always gonna get whatever she's doing over. I'm not saying there's a finite number of pops you have in a wrestling crowd, but maybe I am a little bit. And you know, in 4.5 hours, maybe that time and energy could have been given elsewhere. But no, you're absolutely right to point it out. No slight on the people involved whatsoever. And so just before we move on, apparently Everton win a 1-0, Gareth, but I don't know if you've heard in your household. Adrista Garnegay got sent off for pushing Michael Keane. You heard that right. That's Everton for you, isn't it? Fucking hell.
I've got it on mute in the background, mate. So
is it as bad as it sounds? Keep me updated. Jesus Christ.
I tell you what, it was a fucking hell of a goal. But I was worried that you obviously couldn't hear the roars coming from the living room there, which is good. So that's a good thing.
There you go. Soundproof and the top. We're good at a grapple, honestly. Anyway, moving on from there, we go from the women's tag into another tag match, FTR versus Brodido. And as we kind of talked about a lot on the weekend show, I think we've been predicting doom for the Brodido team for quite a while. And obviously, it's finally came here, and it. Again, I mentioned it earlier, as far as from a booking point of view, does feel a little bit like we're just circling back to where we were supposed to get to when it felt like they wanted FTR to beat the Hurt Syndicate and win the belts and have their story with Cope and Christian. So I think we are getting there eventually. But yeah, what did you make of the execution of it? I've got to say, I'm pretty sure you were probably a fan of Stokely doing a ripper off. And have you ever seen the film Belly? I'm sure you are, Gareth. I'm sure it's a favourite of yours. Film with a load of rappers in it from I think it's late 90s or early 2000s. I'm not sure. They're all terrible. But it's a film that's well regarded in some circles. That's what he was knocking off on the open here. But yeah, thoughts on that and thoughts on the match itself. Did they do a good job of making it feel dramatic? Brodido finally losing the belts here after a longer run than many of us thought.
Yeah, well, that Stokely reference is totally lost on me, mate. So
you're not the only one. That's a deep cut. It's a really deep cut. Like the Caster Belly, I don't know how to act like Method Man said once, but yeah, it's not a good film. Don't rush out and see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked, or I've talked when I've been on here about like enjoying this Brodido run, and it'd been something where, again, this is one of these instances where they have got something that's felt a bit organic and got over and worked and turned into a good pairing, and they've sort of stuck with it as well. And I think everyone would have probably expected that they would have dropped the belts much sooner than they have done here. I think dropping it this weekend at Full Gear, that kind of felt right to me. It felt like a right length of time based on the run they've had, what they've managed to achieve in the run for getting both Bandido and Brody King over again to another level without it then outstaying its welcome, and the belts then getting put back on a proper tag team. It just, again, this feels like something in execution that they've sort of adapted to and delivered quite well, because I think it feels like they've got FTR in a place as well where them getting the belts and them being the champions again does feel a little bit fresh to me personally. Like, it does feel like it's warranted as well based on the matches and the angles and things like that they've put them into, running up.
They've had a great year
at this point. So, and again, I think we're probably critical early on a bit of, why do they need to be with Stokely and things? But actually, again, that's one in retrospect that I probably look at now, and he just feels part of the act to me now. I can't imagine him not being there like anymore. I do feel like it's helped that transition to make them be proper heels as well by having him in their corner as well.
There's chemistry there, isn't there? Massively.
Where in obviously FTR had been over babyface wise and things like that, so they did need something extra to make you want to boo them, and I think Stokely does make you want to boo them. So when they're in a match here like this, and you see him getting taken out on the outside and things just about, then again it just sort of gives you that other reason to get behind the baby faces here and go against the heels. So I think in execution, that's something that's worked well. And the match itself was good. Like Andy saying in our chat there, like best match on the show. I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't put it up there as like best match on the show or something. And like
I'd say Pat Darby.
I enjoyed it a lot, but I wouldn't go as high as 4 stars on this match or anything like that. It was like a 3.75 star match for me, but I think it sort of achieved everything it needed to as well, because it got the FTR win over quite well. I think they did a fucking amazing job here of where Bandido has just felt like his stock is just rising on a weekly basis throughout the last few months. Again, he was kept as strong as fuck in this match, where there was a big kick out from where he'd had the belt shot. There was where FTR hit I don't know, it was almost like a double F5 or something like that that they hit. Kicked out at that, kicked out at the spike pile driver as well. So you were left feeling fucking like Bandido will not die kind of thing, and then obviously he then does kind of, but you're left to feel God, what a lot of fight he's got in him there, and again just stands in great stead for moving forward, as it feels like they should be doing off the back of this tag run. But again, I think in execution achieved so much, delivered so well, and again kind of was one of these things that made you, when you then reflect on it post main event, you're like, how are they getting all this stuff done well and done to perfection and delivered with so much thought at the lower level, and then not nailing it at the top level? It's the fucking wrong way around.
And that's it. And I wonder about a lot of that, at least here, is FTR understanding the role here and understanding that they have been, I said this to JP, they've been so given this year as far as putting people over and as far as trying to elevate people. And you could almost see it in winning the belt, they wanted you to not forget about Brodido, because as you've mentioned there, what I really loved about this match, it was a great match in its own right until that point, but I just thought the last couple of minutes where it was, they just had to kill Bandido pretty much, and just it was offense after, it was overloading with offense, like you said there, with the stuff pile driver and then coming up and giving them the fingers and refusing to die. It was a proper epic end. It was if you're having a title run, you want it to be memorable. You want the end of it to be memorable too, and it felt like a memorable end for them. They went out on the sword, and I felt like that was FDR's thinking there to make sure that happened, as well as getting to the place where they've got the tag belts and they can go forward. But I don't disagree with that decision either. Again, it's hard. You said there, it's almost like you don't want to say that it's fresh. FTR winning the tag belts as like a heel team, but you can understand from a book. We do I want to see them versus Cope and Christian? No. But clearly, the Bucks turning face later on is probably not a coincidence either. We're probably setting up for that down the road. But there's also Jurassic Express. Like, there's also, you know, you can go back to the well with, obviously, with Jet Speed as well. Like, there's room and places to go there with FTR as tag champions. And I think it's job done for Brodido. I was, when they won the belt, kind of one of the people watching the clock and just assuming at some point, you know, this is not a team we're going to be talking about in a few years. We really, at the end of their careers, we're going to be talking about them as singles wrestlers, but they did way more with this run than you would have expected. And it didn't end in any kind of daft, you know, fighting amongst themselves way. Maybe we get a match with them later on, and we probably go back to them being singles guys, but they've come out with the head held high in a way that you could do a rematch at least, and who knows what else with them as a team. There might be something established enough now to go back to. So job done as well. A great little reign for them, but none of us saw coming.
Yeah, and I think from that like Bandido point of view, like for me personally, he's not someone that I've ever been like massively into, you know, as a
Brody King for me, either, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll probably be more of a Brody King guy than a Bandido guy. But now I just look and I think of the Continental Classic now, and I'm just like, again, mouth-watering really. It's some of the matches that I can just visualize Bandido going out and having with some of the people who will be in this tournament. And JP said it when we did the review in the last show about like even throw in babyface versus babyface, Bandido versus Brody King in the Continental Classic as well. Like, that's a match there that you can actually say that could be executed, you know, well off the back of this as well. It doesn't need just any needle or anything like that. It's just going out there and just, you know, that working well. So I just think they've set up something really good here. The only thing for me he needs to do is just fuck off that 21-plex, because it is the shittest, most convoluted move.
He almost fucked it in, didn't he?
Oh,
he kind of went off to the side, didn't he?
I feel like he's doing that all the time at the minute. Like, whether it's like lads that are a bit too big or something, like he's just slipping off the side. But I hate any move where you've got someone has to bend over and hold onto a rope for 5 seconds before someone's then going to come and hit it. I hate it. But
what a coincidence! They always end up in that position in Bromley and Bandido matches. It's a bit like people running into Joe and doing the ST Joe. There's a few spots like that. To be honest, it feels like a move that Swerve would do, doesn't it? Like, it's one of those overly convoluted like moves that like he still unfortunately has in his repertoire, despite being a main event talent. Yeah, I agree. Not a huge fan, but there we go. But yeah, good bit of business, and yeah, makes sense for FTR. And I think overall, I think it's worth it with Stokely. I think there's times where even the belly thing here goes a little bit too comedic for my liking, for my personal tastes, but I can believe that, and also think the overall is working. And I think, yeah, it is true, as you say, the overall is working with them as an act right now. So we'll see where that goes from there. But yeah, that takes us from there into our next match, which at Triple Jet Minutes is the Casino Gauntlet match that came up here, because of course, Gareth, we have another Casino Gauntlet, because we can't keep anything special at AEW, and we also have to have in here another belt, which this Casino Gauntlet was for as well. And yeah, obviously all mostly built around what now looks like to me a bizarre decision to have Lashley just blow through Ricochet on Dynamite. And I think a couple of people said on our chat, that probably means that Ricochet is going to win the belt. And okay, I guess that makes sense from a quite backwards booking point of view, but all right. And it turned out to be the case. And obviously all the teasing of Hit Syndicate opening this thing up really led to not much. They didn't really get into it very much, did the big lads, until Ricochet got involved. And I don't necessarily love all execution, but I'm all right with the end result being that Ricochet is the national champion. I would rather there wasn't another belt. I'd rather, you know, they had their ducks in a row, and, you know, we'd done the Mark Briscoe moment somewhere else, and you could give the TNT belt to Ricochet or something like that. But if we have to have a belt and we have to do another one of these matches, I think Ricochet is the right recipient of it, even if we went at a weird route to get there. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that, and what's your thoughts on the people involved in the match itself?
I mean, I have to start by saying, what a fucking beautiful, proper belt. Kind of thing. Reminiscent of...
It is a nice belt, isn't it? It's annoying, that.
Yeah, reminiscent of like one of my old NWA TV title, like a bit of a look about it there as well. I just think, like, if... when I heard they were introducing another belt, I was fuming, having like sort of consolidated the ones that the card has got now and followed that route. But then when I seen it, I was like, Well, I'd have one of them. So let's
Well, we know what to get you for
put,
Christmas.
put that on the show. Put that on the show and merge a couple of others. But the outcome for me, just 100% the right route to go down. I think given Ricochet a title at this level at this time with the way that his act is currently, and I think him busting out kind of the comedic chops and sort of the the mic skills and things that I never knew he had. I think it's been one of the most probably entertaining things that's been on AEW TV like for the last quite a while. Quite a few months now. So the idea of him now coming out on TV and just being able to flaunt it with that title and things like that, I just think it's gonna work so great. So it was the perfect selection there for the champ. And again, I think a belt that is where Tony Khan struggled in the past by trying to make all belts equal as they're all main event titles kind of thing. No, this one is very clearly pitched as a mid-card, lower mid-card title, at that end, which I think
until he merges it with the TNT belt.
Important, yeah. It's about
doesn't tell him before.
That's bound to happen. That's about to come down the line, or it'll split this one in two to make an extra belt or something like that along the way. But I think there was some good stuff that worked well within this match as a whole. I think that they some of the stuff that they put together felt like it worked. Like for a match of this kind, I just think again, it's entirely meaningless, but just as a throwaway thing, like the Matt Menard, Daniel Garcia stuff, like it's just classic old school Royal Rumble fodder almost kind of thing, that you've got this lower level rivalry that they end up face to face and things, and they're fucking off through the crowd. Like, it's not important kind of thing, but it's a nod to something. It's not just two guys who are just in the ring having a wrestling match. There is some element of kind of like story and association like behind that, and I appreciate that for what it was. I think that something with the Ricochet side of things that came out so well was just how much heat he was getting. And I think that was, given that he was in a match with, Death Riders, and Ricochet's the one who was definitely getting the most negative crowd reaction and the most heat from the crowd. Again, I think that sort of says a lot about the decision to put the belt on him and like where they've.
He's a fun act to boo, isn't he? He reminds me of like QB Raven ROH, which we will revisit at some point, where like again in this same market kind of in like the Northeast, he was just great of just being a shit staring heel that everyone kind of had a fun time, kind of like not mockingly booing, but like kind of enjoying it rather than hating him. I think Ricochet's got that similar kind of heat where, I mean, really that's all heat really is in 2025 wrestling, but it works, doesn't it? Because everyone wants to boo and everyone wants to cheer whoever's going after him.
Yeah, and that's like how many heels come through that curtain, and again, just crickets, no one cares. Oh, he's another baddie kind of thing. Like, so what sort of thing? You see Ricochet and immediately, and even if it's whether it's the ball chance or whatever kind of thing, there's a reason for the crowd to get engaged and to want to just create a bit of noise and have a bit of a go at him and things like that come across there. I mean, speaking of no crowd reaction, something that I really liked in this match though was the switch for Mark Davis here, kind of, because he's had no crowd reaction at any point coming into this match. He came out here through the curtain and got absolutely zero crowd
pulling his angry face.
But then he landed them 3 pile driver variations in a row, and the last one being that like his old like countdown to fuck finish or whatever it was called. When he was on the Indies where he grabs the ankle, and that was like that got a mega pop from the crowd, and it almost felt like great. What a exercise in giving somebody whose reactions down there, giving him something cool to do in a match, and it almost felt like then his the perception of him had just like shifted within 2 minutes completely. Suddenly it was like, oh fuck, he looks like a real credible threat. Oh, actually, he is quite a big hard bastard, isn't he? He's not just kind of faceless sort of man in black trunks coming through with a beard. So again, I thought that worked quite
like
well.
that led perfectly, didn't it, to having that 4-way kind of stare down was it Claudio with Lashley and Shelton. It was just kind of like, he doesn't feel like he fits in this foursome, but he kind of does too, like at least in this moment for this crowd. I'd still like to see Mark Davis show a lot more from like a personality point of view. There's a reason I don't think he's over in AEW, but there's also a reason he got over on the Indies, isn't it? And it was his offense and it was his wrestling, and yeah, he got to show that a little bit there. So glad you pointed that out.
And in a land of, when you see him there in the ring with, when he's stood next to a Mike Bailey or he's stood next to a Kevin Knight or a Roddy Strong or something like that, he does look like a big bloke kind of thing, and think how, there is an
like when I was stood next to Cody, same thing.
It's like when I was stood next to Powerhouse Hobbs. I was thinking, crew is mouth.
Me and Suzuki, whose t-shirt I am currently wearing, who I was threatened into buying. Same way, mate. Towering over him, mate. That's what I was doing. But I mean, you say that about like crowd reactions, though. Like I love that, but I thought this was the right place to do the Daniel Garcia Matt Menard thing. Like I also feel like JP would probably say it. We put a fucking lot of work into that story for this to pay off. A lot of TV time, a lot of Matt Menard doing commentary and Daniel Garcia matches just to get here. But it was also nice to have a payoff, and from a character point of view, it made sense when Garcia's been ducking him that this would be the moment that Matt Menard gets his hands on him. I really enjoyed that from a character point of view too.
Yeah, it worked well, and then my boy Yuta getting good reactions off the crowd as well. There, again, he's someone else who always going to get the negative chants and things like that as well.
He's very Jimmy Wave too.
As a bit of business, start to end, didn't outstay its welcome. Few high spots along the way with different characters, little things that worked well and were entertaining, little things that helped people get along, and the right result at the end in Ricochet winning for me. So again, came away from that one thinking like, as much as we repeat these matches along the way with AEW, was another one that I enjoyed, and from having been in the building for these type of matches, you could tell that it was one that the crowd enjoyed as well. So it was a nice little change of pace to include it at this point.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. I do still think, though, you want to keep this special and you don't want to do too many of these with mostly mid-card wrestlers. I know Lashley's in there and a couple of other people we mentioned there, but really, this was the least star-studded version of it as well, and you can already feel it slipping into just another, what was the other one where they had like deck cards and it'd just be on a random rampage by the end of it. Like it feels like it's maybe trending in that direction a little bit. So I'd say be careful, but there's no way Tony Khan is ever listening to that. You'll come up with another match, there'll be a casino, backwards battle royal or something like that, and there we go, we'll be off to the races. But yeah, some good moments in that one. Did not stay its welcome either. I was glad it was, not an hour or something like that, like some of these have gone. I think it was a good old length too. But that takes us into the next match here, and another high point for a lot of people on the show. I'm very interested in your take on this one. Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley, which again, bit of blood, and again, a bit of bad aging considering what would follow this. But if we're just talking about it on its own merits, thought really well laid out. I thought, I'm loving this Mox story. I'm loving, obviously, the promo that followed this, that everyone's pointing out with all the Death Riders in the background, looking not so happy with Moxley. Again, it being another Moxley loss. I'm into all that. I still stand up by my point that I don't think it should be Kyle O'Reilly in this spot. I don't think he's doing bad work in this spot. I think this is the best work he's ever done in AEW. This match particularly, name me a better thing Kyle O'Reilly's done in AEW than this match. So he has brought it. He has raised his game. And I even thought the commentary was good in this one and kind of saying, yeah, he's been getting over like some health issues. And this is the first time we've seen Kyle O'Reilly actually be himself. Because really for the last year, he's just been being a comedy goof, really, hasn't he, with his mates backstage. So he made it work, but more to the point, I think Moxley made it work. It was a masterclass from Moxley, this one, and a great story, well told on the night, even with some of those caveats for me. But yeah, been interesting, and you're taking this story and this match particularly. You're a Kyle O'Reilly guy? I'm not sure you are.
Nah,
was there ever a time? Future Shock?
I'm
with Adam Cole, back then?
Nah, to me, you'll always be like. I always like Red Dragon as a tag team. Like back in the day, I felt like great, totally brilliant theme music, but that felt like his level to me. Like that's where he should be. I can't get over his strikes. His strikes are so bad. They just look so
worse than
lame.
Sheamus's.
Oh.
Bret Hart should watch him. See what he thinks.
for somebody who tries to sort of like come across with that legitimate style and things like that, his strikes are
James has always hated him.
Strikes are does he? But like that's a big part of it. It's almost like I don't know. His mat work's probably better than his striking for me. But the main thing for me with this one is like the 2 points that I would hit on this one are, as you said, like is Kyle O'Reilly the right person to be in this position to be getting these wins over Jon Moxley? Like, to me, 100% not. But
should be Garcia, shouldn't it? Sorry, the thought just popped in my head. Why didn't they wait? Like, rather than doing the heel stuff with Garcia, wouldn't this be a really, really good role for him and his wrestling style? Or Lee Moriarty, he's another one,
Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta is it should have been. He should have been kicked out. It could have been the Virgil style thing here. Like I could proper see Wheeler Yuta here with Bryan Danielson in his corner, getting these wins over Jon Moxley. That would have made a bit more sense. And as actually somebody who's getting crowd reactions, unlike Daniel Garcia and unlike Kyle O'Reilly, potentially those heel reactions that Wheeler gets could have been turned into babyface reactions here as he's turfed out of the Death Riders, and he's got the wrestling style to deliver on what they've done.
Just someone with upside, innit? That's the thing. Like, it's not that Kyle O'Reilly's done a bad job. It's just we all know he's not going to be in a better position in 6 months, is he?
No, you know that he's taken that he's getting pinned in a 6-man tag on Collision in 3 months' time or something, don't you?
If he's even on,
kind of thing, that's the way it's going. But the big win for me on this one is just the continuation of the Mox storyline.
Brilliant,
just
so good.
The way that they've, the follow up to him losing the belt has been so good, and just again coming out of the back of this, just small details kind of thing, just a little look Marina Shafir give him, almost like a questioning look after he's like lost on the outside, really good. And then Mox has then got to go in back in the ship bag and attack his arm after he's been defeated. I thought that was I thought that was great. And then even the sort of like the story and sort of within the match a little bit. You talk about the commentary, Danielson. I loved at the start where Daniel's talking about like the heritage and history of No Holds Barred, and it been about using holds and attacks that were banned, and it's not about weapons sort of thing as well. So it was drawing that real distinction of what a No Holds Barred match is versus like a no DQ match or something like that. Is given that very clear indication of what this match style was. And then in the match, lo and behold, obviously it sort of like leads into that is, where you've got Kyle O'Reilly immediately attacking Mox with the closed fists that are not allowed in wrestling. You've got Kyle O'Reilly, going after the single digit. You've got Mox fish hooking him and things like that. So they're almost pulling out old school barred holds in professional wrestling, which I loved that as just a little story wrinkle there, just to lead into the fact that this is a no holds barred match and it stands on its own for that particular stipulation. But then turning into the situation where Kyle O'Reilly's getting the better of Mox. So what's Mox got to do? He's got to go outside, and Marina's like, "No, you need a fork, mate." And so he's got to take it to that level, because when it came to it, and it came to the early wrestling of the no holds barred level, Mox couldn't deliver. He couldn't stand up and be counted, and then ultimately he couldn't stand up and be counted either by having the weaponry involved, and even Kyle O'Reilly being at a disadvantage with the arm and things. I just thought, as a big picture story, they've told it so well, and then as the story beat that this match was start to end, told that so well as well. So I had a great time watching this, apart from thinking constantly, why is this Kyle O'Reilly? That is the only thing that like takes away from it from me. But every other thing about this match, I fucking enjoyed.
Like you said there, like the bleeding literally of the fork into this was so well done and so well peppered in, as was the escalating violence. And the biggest thing for me, my favorite point from a story point of view, is obviously, again, it wouldn't be Kyle O'Reilly if it was me, but Kyle O'Reilly beating Mox. It makes sense within the Mox canon of this story, but it's the post match, isn't it? It's the needless to say, I had the last laugh of, like you said there, Moxley thinking he's got like this. Well, I wouldn't really, because I battered them afterwards, and like you said, the Death Riders knowing that you didn't win there, mate. That's nothing. What are you doing? But he's convincing himself that that's enough. Like, there's so many layers and so many character motivations you can read into currently with all this Death Rider stuff. Like, it's just brilliant. Brilliantly did on. And again, I think Kyle O'Reilly did good in the role, but this is about Mox. This is Mox's story, and Kyle O'Reilly's just like he's like the guest actor in like the drama for this week. But really, the main character here is Moxley and the other supporting characters of the Death Riders. And yeah, who knew? Again, maybe there's an argument there for let it play out with Samoa Joe as 2025 AEW World Champion, that we'd be having this conversation after the start of the year. Just more great work from Moxley. Going to be in all our considerations for Wrestler of the Year at the end of it. I would absolutely say so. But yeah, from there, again, the next match, it was brilliant. Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher. But I mean, why are these back to back, and why are they on the same pay-per-view? Like, is it just me that there was so many similarities between these two matches? And I don't want to start on a negative either, because I did think it was great. I did, another great music video again here with Mark Briscoe bringing up Jay and telling that story. Like, and this was one of those matches that was, this whole pay-per-view cycle. It's been a little bit rinse repeat, hasn't it? Like, it really didn't feel too dissimilar from the last pay-per-view, and this was one of the rematches from the last pay-per-view. But I almost feel like if this was the only one, you'd be more forgiving of it, because I've enjoyed like these two characters interact and I've enjoyed their matches. It makes sense for them to wrestle again. And again, I'm trying not to be negative, because I think in execution it was great, and I think the crowd reaction was great. The screwdriver in this one, basically, being the equivalent of the wrench from the previous match, and all of the same kind of similar ultra violence was really well done, including the stuff with putting the screwdriver in the turnbuckle, wasn't it, there as well, like escalating the violence. Felt very Mox-like, felt very similar to that previous match, and it got over and it was brilliant. Actually, maybe I'm just a miserable old man, but I came out of it at the end going, but I also think this was great, but I also think there was a version of this match that didn't do any of that was also great, because these two are great. And really, is this a blood feud, or is it Mark Briscoe becoming, the AEW TNT champion? Because I think that story could have been told without all that, but I'm so conflicted on it, Gareth. Maybe help me break the tie there, because again, the execution was great, and at the end of it, it was the right result too. So it's hard to be too harsh on it, even if it seems obvious from an agent point of view that maybe these matches shouldn't have been back to back. Don't know what say you.
Yeah, I think this was one where you start to sort of get into a world there where you're looking at the order of things here, and then knowing that. I think the next match was the Bucks 6-man tag sort of thing. It almost felt like that could have sandwiched this and the Mox match there, just to kind of take things in a slightly different direction from.
I've managed to be so negative about a match I love. Sorry, Gareth. Take us into the love fest side of it. It was great. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
But saying that, it didn't take away from my enjoyment of this match at all. This is a feud that I've loved. I think the chemistry that these two lads is just like off the charts. Incredible. I think that the impact that they've both had from working with each other again has been something that's elevated both to different levels, in different ways and for different reasons. But they've both come out of this feud on the up, and it just reminds me just of that old school kind of mid-card pairing where you get these two guys who just totally. They're just meant to be together, and then they're probably meant to face each other for years to come. I think I talked about this last time, is the idea that when Kyle Fletcher is the world champion in the future, Mark Briscoe in 2 years' time, 2.5, 3 years' time, can be that feud of the month for January, February or something like that, while Fletcher's the champ, because you can go back to it. It's a guy we had wars with. It's a guy that beat him in the past and things like that. It totally just feels like one of those 1990s kind of mid card things that moves up the cards together. So again, I couldn't wait to see more of this. I was expecting Briscoe to win, hoping he would win. Delighted that he did get the win in the end there. It just felt like a great sort of culmination to the way that this has been built, and also to the way that Mark Briscoe's been used. Because how many times have we come on here and we talk about he's someone who is over, he can lose, he can come out the next week and everyone's forgot the fact that he lost, and he can like rehabilitate himself back to that level of overness and expecting that he can and will win and things like that. And again, putting a belt on him at this time, it just kind of again just nudges him up, and it just makes him feel a bit more. And every situation that he's been in, he's delivered on it every single time. Like he's somebody who feels a little bit like the heart and soul of AEW at the moment. And anytime Mark Briscoe's out there, the crowd love him. You're going to have a great match every time. That he can work with like such a diverse range of opponents, adds such value to the card. And then like in this, when you look at this, and then you looked at not just the journey he's been on in the feud with Kyle Fletcher, the journey that he went on in this match, because like you look at some of the shit he took in this match, like the brain buster on the chair, like he did the dive and went through the ladder. Fletcher lashed the ladder at his head and busted him open. Like he got shoved from the top through a table on the outside. He got sort of dumped from the dead-eye position, like through a table in the corner. He had the thumbtacks put in his mouth and then super kicked there. And like, you're just like, Christ almighty, the amount of damage that Mark Briscoe took in this match and would not die. And Kyle Fletcher, frustration getting to the point there where the screwdriver's having to come into play. And that moment of the screwdriver just sticking up through the turnbuckle, I was
scared for the real men
kind of thing. I was
like, what if they slip? What happens then? Like, someone's gonna die. Like, literally.
It was and that at that moment where I'd sort of like half seen like the WhatsApp message, and not knowing what it was about, there was part of me that thinking was like, what if something badly's gone wrong here or something like that? And that is the reason for these messages. It seemed totally plausible. I was shitting myself like a bit at that point. But again, if you think for the level of violence and for the level of like weaponry and things like that have been used in AEW, like over the months and recent months, like something again new, something scary, something different with a weapon there as well, like brilliant. I think the only negative I can put on this match is that when Mark Briscoe won the belt and he was holding the belt, again in classic AEW style, it didn't get enough time to breathe, and I would have loved all his mates to come out here and do the old Mark Briscoe on the shoulder in the ring, holding the belt and all that. It really felt like it needed that just to go along with that heart and soul of AEW thing. Where we had that moment on the ramp after, I can't remember what it was, like Anarchy in the Arena or something, wasn't it? Where they were all it was like all the lads
the humorous moment
kind of thing. Like
as we call it in the biz.
It needed a bit of that. It felt a bit cold to just suddenly been going, like, right, let's roll the Young Bucks VT sort of thing. So that took me out of it a little bit at the end.
It ties into like it is a structure of the card as well, because same as you love this match, I love Mark Briscoe winning this as well. Just to add on to what you said before, in that like. And I think they should be credited for this, for a job well done. This is the type of match Mark Briscoe lost a lot. And like a year ago, we'd be having the conversation about, okay, you can't. I know you can, it's a bit like the Joe conversation. I know you can get away with it. And like you said, I know we'll be over next week. And I know we'll all forget and move on. But like at some point, he's got to win some big ones so that he's got credibility when you want to do it with him again. Or when you want to do it, like you said, in a more important role, like a world title challenger. This is something we're going to remember, like him pulling it off. He's not, I feel like he wins these moments a little bit more than he was losing them, let's say, a year ago. And that feels by design. That feels like something they've gone, you know what? He's someone people believe in. He is the heart and soul of AEW, and we need to get behind it and kind of go with it. So all the credit in the world really there for them, for massively for going with it and for putting him in this spot and, yeah, recognizing what all of the rest of us see. And I agree, like, on the end of it, in that this felt like the end of the pay-per-view, to be honest. Like, it felt like it for the crowd. If this was the peak, really, wasn't it? Because it's kind of downhill from here when you talk about the next two matches and into the main event. I think this is the crowd kind of go over the hump at that point, and it's kind of lessening the heat going on, because this felt like it could have been the main event. It could have been the last match on a different show, and it would have felt like this great, season finale ending with Mark Briscoe standing tall, and yeah, felt like, again, it was that last bit of energy that maybe this crowd had was given to Mark Briscoe here, and it is a little bit sad we didn't get to live with it as much.
100%, but as well, like, we're doing a lot of talk about Mark Briscoe there as well. I think we've got to talk about Kyle Fletcher, and I think the run that he's had with this belt, like, this title run has been,
and it's right that he moves on now, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Like, he's above this belt now. He's above the belt.
Totally the length it needed to be. He's handed the belt on to somebody who, through this feud, he's put in a better position. He is now in a better position and is now elevated as a result of this title run and the feud that he's having. And he should, to me, if he's not winning that Continental Classic, he should be going all the way to the final now, because, like fuck me, like, he just, like, it just feels inevitable. Like, it feels inevitable that he's going to be the best wrestler in the world or the biggest star in AEW. Or, all the pieces of just coming together week upon week upon week. Everything, just from the looks to he speaks better now, his actual look himself, the in-ring work, the crowd reactions that he's getting as a heel and things like that. Everything is just coming together. Totally right. And this is one where, if they fuck this up, if they somehow cool the jets on him in some way, like they've done with other people when they've been red, I'll be fuming, because this just feels like a guy on the march to being the top guy in the company.
It feels like they've nailed it again, unfortunately, because the belts are a little bit confused. In another world, say the TNT title, and then there was I guess the Continental title is bigger. He moves up to, it's like moving from the TV title division to the US title division in WCW, but even that feels beneath him a bit. But, like, yeah, that would be like the kind of the thought on it, in that he has, like you said, made himself bigger than the belt now. Absolutely the right. I think in another environment, AEW might have kept this belt on him for another 6 months too long. And at that point, you start to get the fan down then, don't you? And it's like, he's still a TNT champion. Like, I think in Tony Khan's mind, that's not a thing. You can have as many belts as you want, and he could challenge for the world title while he's still a TNT champion. What's wrong with that? He could be the ROH Pure champion at the same time as well. But I think there's something that comes with that like defines you down. He should be above that now, and he should be taking that next step up. It's just, you hope he takes that next step up, and that is the thought process, and we do move on to bigger and better things. But they've got every other step of it right, so it's hard to say they're going to necessarily get it wrong here as well.
And in a world where we've got Okada and Takeshita pitched there within the Don Callis family as well, where you've got them going to head, it's a great story for him to come right through the middle kind of thing, and he walks away as the guy kind of, when you've had these two sort of butting heads at the top of the family, as it's presented there, it's something that's like got a bit of legs about it, because it then means that he can go both ways, and he can work Takeshita, he can work Okada as well on the back of that as well. So yeah, just give me more. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. Like, I keep thinking to myself, like, like, all the times I was watching this guy, like, how many times have I seen him live in person, and I just did not see this. Oh, if you'd have told me then that, like, this is a guy who's got the potential to be the world champion in, like, at this level, I'd have never ever believed it in a million years. It's mental.
I agree, but enough about Mark Davis. That match was before. I don't know what you're doing, mate. Anyway, it was always clear who was going to be the star out of those two. I think even Tanahashi saw it. I think Liger saw it as well. I'd like to say we saw it as well, but not to this level. Absolutely agreed. But yeah, we go from there into, like I say, where, as Simon kind of says there in the chat, where it did feel like the crowd came a bit down. We get to our elite drama of the night as we have the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander versus the Jurassic Express of Jack Perry and Luchasaurus, with Kenny Omega with $1 million on the line here in this. And yeah, like I said, it did feel like the pay-per-view hit a bit of a wall here. Or maybe I did in trying to fit all this in and kind of watch it in a bit of a bizarre order. But I wasn't up for it. The action was good. It was a bit like one of those Dynamite matches that I reckon on Weekend Show me and JP had spent 60 seconds talking about going, oh yeah, the spots were good in it. That was a good time. Anywho, we all move on with some elite drama at the end of it. Because the spots were good and the work was good. And Kenny Omega did, more in this than you might expect for those who seem to think he's dying and can't possibly do a singles match anymore. But it was all set up for him to reunite with the Young Bucks, and I guess they're going back in the trios division to do more trio stuff. Where, yeah, I feel like there's an alternate timeline, mate, where as much as I love them again, the Ops are in the trios division because they've got the fucking trios belts, and Kenny Omega is in the world title program with Hangman Adam Page in a longer run for Hangman. But this is what we're doing, and I'm guessing it's where we're going. But I didn't even think that really landed, to be honest. The crowd kind of were with it in the moment post-match, but it certainly wasn't something it felt like people were clamoring for, even to the level you had like 2 years ago where people were loving this Elite Law stuff. I don't know if anybody outside there, Matt, Nick, and Kenny, really wants this right now.
Yeah, I mean, it felt very nice to have, didn't it? It felt sort of like semi-nice moments.
Kenny's tears felt legitimate, maybe a little bit. I felt like he was actually genuinely emotional, but
yeah, I mean, the match itself, there's literally nothing to say about the match itself other than that bit where Nick Jackson totally fucked it to the floor when Luchasaurus didn't catch him. Like, that looked fucking, he looked fuming there with that. But like, yeah, it's just about, it was about that storyline of the Bucks and Kenny getting back together at the back end of it. And like, if it is okay, we're moving towards the 6-man belts, I don't know. There's part of that that's a little bit disappointing because from somebody who's never been a massive Bucks guy, I've actually been enjoying the Bucks like of late, sort of last 2-3 months. They've looked motivated. They've been, obviously they're in great nick at the minute. They're doing, they've been a bit more innovative and looks like they're going through the motions a bit less in the ring as well, which I think is definitely...
The money stuff's been hokey. It's almost like you had to forgive it because the performances when the bell rang were good enough and their character stuff was good enough that I was like, all right, fine, let them do their BTE comedy about like gambling all the money away, fine. It gave us like motivated Bucks, didn't it, in a heel role?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's like a company built on the Bucks and Kenny and the people who... There's still people out there who still buy into that idea, and then they want to cheer the Bucks, don't they, kind of thing, and like they want to cheer Kenny, and they're still fans of those wrestlers who make up a decent chunk of the AEW fan base. So it sort of like makes sense in those areas that they're going to do that. I mean, I looked, and it's 2.5 years since they were last together, so it's a decent chunk of time that they've not been together as a collective, so a bit, a fair bit of time's passed there. But again, it's
they did try and kill him also, I should say. There was all that.
We're still, I think he's still though. Like, how long now has gone by since Kenny's been back, and still just waiting for something serious and notable for Kenny Omega to actually be doing, kind of thing. And we like, if you think how long AEW has been in existence,
that's how long I've been waiting for it, mate, but I'm a knobhead.
What proportion of has AEW been in existence? So how many years have we been waiting for them to actually do something substantial with Kenny Omega? And if this then goes to, we're going to do 6 months of 6-man tag stuff with the Bucks and Kenny, we're literally talking about like 6.5 years or something, aren't we? Where we're going to be like, come on, can we do
the distance between Hulkamania and Austin winning the world title from Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania in 1998? Yep, that's how long that is.
It's wild, but what are you going to do? Hopefully it means that I don't have to see Jungle Boy on my telly too much now that he's been disassociated from these, hopefully, as a result of this.
There you go. I'll take that as a positive there as well. And I felt like the biggest victim of this card in the last match we're talking about today was Chris Statlander and a Mercedes, which I had to follow this, and again felt like it suffered a bit, probably a bit too long as well, considering everything that had come before it. Maybe that's a note they took. Maybe that's why the main event went so short as a match. Maybe they sensed that the crowd weren't going along with it, with what they were trying to sell here, and it's a bit of a shame because I've been a critic of the Chris Statlander title run. But I've enjoyed, in a similar way to the Moxley kind of story, is like within its own universe. I think this Mercedes story is actually quite clever. In that, like, I think it's ridiculous the in joke of like she's going to get another belt, she's going to get another belt, she's going to get another belt. But in fairness, when we've critiqued that in the past, me and JP, I think maybe what we've missed and what they kind of hammered home here is like the telling that story. Yeah, it is a bit of an in joke for everybody to laugh at, but there's actually a serious element to it, as we saw here. In that, like, yes, you can do all that. But as Excalibur drove home, she can't actually win the AEW World title. Yeah. And I kind of like that as a bit of a character flaw. I think, again, in execution, this wasn't the best. It was a bit sloppy in points, and it was definitely overly long, and the crowd weren't really with it. But as like a character beat for Mercedes, I actually think that's quite interesting. It's not something I'd really thought about until they drove it home here. So, yeah, bit of a shame for the two of them that they were very much up against it at this spot on the card.
They might not have got the crowd reactions, but they were getting the reactions in my living room anyway when I was watching this, because I proper enjoyed this. This was one of my favourite matches on the card. Oh. All in all, it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like my kind of match. This, like, there was the nice story about like the limb work that was built in there with Stat, and the fact that they'd like established the power side of a game, earlier on, but then obviously like the work around the limb was something that sort of like negated that to a certain degree. So like I really enjoyed that. I thought that in the bits where Mercedes then needed to be a bit more aggressive, and like she was almost like savage at points where she was attacking Statlander's arm, like really whether it was through sort of like the stomps and things that she was going, they looked like genuinely realistic, but then like going, right back in and putting arm bars on and like knee in the arm and things like that. I was loving the structure. Like, I was just loving the structure of this match. I was really enjoying it, enjoying it so much. And then interweaved with then the storyline that you talked about there. How she couldn't beat Toni Storm. Now she can't, getting through and not being able to win this, and can get all these shitty belts from all around the world, but can't win the big one. Like, it's a great little a great sort of story element that they've built into it there. But I thought the work in this match was as solid as fuck, and like I absolutely loved that near fall where there was the package pile driver from Statlander, and Mercedes grabbed the rope at 299. Like, that brought the crowd out then at that moment, and I felt like it showed that it worked. I felt like, again, I was almost feeling like there was like lessons learned from the Britt Baker match that she had at Wembley with a Mercedes here, because I felt like they really upped the tempo at certain points to try and get the crowd going, and I think it worked and helped the match, and it did stop while the crowd weren't electric, it stopped them sort of snoozing at points and things where we'd seen them not change things up so much. I thought Mercedes was like classier, and again, you talk about like wrestlers of the year. I think she's had such a great year, really like good, yeah. in-ring work. Like, I was done on the idea of her being in AEW 18 months ago, and like, yeah, when I see her come out, I'm just like excited. I know it's going to be good. I know that she's coming across like a genuine star, not just in the women's division, a genuine star, full stop. So proper enjoyed this one.
Most improved feels strong because it's Mercedes, and like, it's not like she was ever bad, but it's like a change of form in it. It's like a player who's just going through a bad run of form, and now they're in a good run of form. They haven't magically gotten better, but like I say, things are clicking for whatever reason. And yeah, I agree. They've really clicked for her this year. I wasn't as high on the match as you, and maybe that's again part of like the overlong show, and also I'm just not into Statlander at this level. She got some good reactions here that kind of showed you that people do like her and do like her to a point, but even a big win over Mercedes, don't really think it's changing its stock. I don't think this world title run's going to go down in the record books, or going to be particularly memorable, even despite that. And that's unfortunately harsh, but I think that's just the job they did before they got it to that point, and I haven't changed my mind on, that was another one, wasn't it? You didn't see it coming, bro, and she won the belt, and it's like, yeah, but you should also put the work in so that when it does happen, we go, oh, right, you're okay, she has been doing well. They didn't do it, and I think that's really kind of paid off in the way she's been received for the most part, even if it almost feels like the crowd want to be with her and they want to get behind her, but it's just she's pitched the wrong level, and I think, this title run was a mistake.
Yeah, I think so, and everyone knows I'm a big Willow Nightingale fan, but like, to me, that would be like that could and probably should have been, if she'd have won the belt on the night that Statlander had won it. Yeah. It would have felt like, well, there's loads more work that's gone into getting her to be that level. Like over the years, with some of the level of matches that she's been involved in, she's someone who's taken seriously and more credibly at that top line level. This title run would have been better, leading into it. Maybe, I think I've said previously, you talk about the old wrestler making the title, or the title making the wrestler, and this is a proper attempt to make the title make the wrestler, but it's, maybe improving her stock slightly, but not to the level that you're taking her credibly as a, this is a tippy top world champion level performer, because she's improved in terms of her on-screen presentation and things like that while she's at it, but not to the level that's level required there. And like, just to go over what you've just said there, it's because that work wasn't done. You just, like, the work needs to be put in, and if you don't do it, guess what? You don't get the results you want.
You can't magically put a belt on someone and expect it to, to work. That's not a push. It is maybe in name, but it's not in reality if you don't do the hard work there totally. And that from there, after that match, it's the main event, and never been true at a statement when it comes to the main event, as we talked about earlier. And who knows what will happen next, unfortunately, for the poor Hangman, Adam Page. Let's hope he gets back. I just double checked the news in case something's been announced for Dynamite or anything that's going to make us all feel better about the future of our Hangman. But no, maybe we'll get another one. Maybe they'll get it right the third time, Gareth, and we'll cling to that hope that the main character Hangman Page will come good. I'm looking forward to recording with Matty this week. I'm also not looking forward to Matty this week because there's no two wrestlers that he dislikes more, I think, in AEW than Samoa Joe and Hangman Page. So he'll be doing victory laps based on the main event that happened there. But like I say, talked it earlier, and let's hope they can turn us around, because there was a lot of positive stuff on this show as well, even with some structural issues and length issues, as we mentioned. But it's like, the conversation has been dominated by that main event, and there's no wonder why.
Yeah, and even at its worst, it's still better than what's going on the other channel. So no worries there in the arguments with Mr. Edwards there. But into your point there about maybe they'll get his third title reign right. Problem is if he does win the belt the third time, he ain't getting the reaction that he got when he won it the second time. And people aren't going to have the faith in them landing the title run the next time as well. So, they've given themselves an uphill battle, if indeed is even a route they go down in the future. Maybe Hangman just doesn't want to be the world champion.
He'll be doing elite drama, won't he? He'll be like him, Hangman, and it'll be him, Kenny, and the Bucks. Can they get along? Can they get back together? Yeah. Probably in our future, isn't it, at some point? But
feuding over the brand new 8-man tag team titles with somebody.
That's coming. Even less ring time for Kenny. So there you go. It's a winner for everyone. But yeah, if you agree, disagree, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know. If you're watching, obviously over on the listening on the audio feed, like I say, video is available on YouTube, as well as all other stuff over on Patreon, as we said earlier. But yeah, outside that, any other plugs? Obviously, retro coming up. I know you don't like the cat out the bag, Gareth, but I know I've seen behind the scenes some fun plans coming up over there as well. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Have you been speaking behind the scenes?
You and Matty?
You access to that?
Oh, I mean the other thing. We're being very cryptic now. I can't say. But,
no, yeah,
I might have a scoop.
Yeah, we're recording retro this week. So yeah, that should be out at the weekend. I think so there. So yeah, if in true retro style, me and Matt is OCD. We're in November. We're in Survivor Series territory, so that's all you're getting out of me. But make of that what you will.
Fair enough. I look forward to watching the Patreon numbers and whether they go up or down this time. Anywho, moving on from there. Looking forward to that coming out. And obviously, on top of that, as we talked about, do check out JP's quiz from the weekend. If you're missing JP, we did have a hell of a time on that. The pre-show was a lot of fun as well. And of course, as we mentioned, we got the 6 tape coming up this weekend. Very much looking forward to getting that homework in. Like I say, even if you're not a patron, join the Discord for free. You see the playlist over there, and you can at least watch along and do the prep as well. But looking forward to that. And then before you know it, mate, it'll be December and it'll be Christmas. I had a big shock this week when Matthew was getting in touch with December plans. It feels like it should be 6 months away, but yeah, plenty coming up then as well. Grappies will be back. Grapples will be back, and some of our other Christmas shows as well.
I'm excited because obviously I didn't make the Grappies and Crappies last year because I was absolutely dying on my sofa for about 3 or 4
that night,
days.
wasn't it?
Yeah, like that was the sickest I've been in probably a decade. So I've been desperate for this year's to.
So we're getting your takes from last year. We're getting doubles from you.
Double header.
Who won last year for you and who wins this year? It'd be a good comparison piece, actually. Good work.
You can hear about my albums of 2024.
There we go. Will WWE be the Queen of the Year? Probably not in 2024 or 2025, but yeah, that'll look forward in December. So yeah, never a better time to join us. Patreon.com/grapple and YouTube.com/grapple as well. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much everything for us. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, we'll be back for the weekend show. Should be me and Matty this week. And obviously we'll have JP back soon as well. But outside of that, thank you, patrons. As always, thank you, live patrons, for tuning in live with us tonight, as well as our YouTube members. And thank you to our kings and queens of the mountain, Conor O'Loughlin, Eddie Sideburns, Chris Platt, Carl Gack, Sophie Hitchcock, Sam Mulvaney, and Marty Ellis. We'll catch you again on the next one. Good night, son.
See ya.